Hi there, my name is Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today is Monday, September the 6th. Happy Labor Day, everyone in the USA. And everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I always say this, without an audience, there would be no live stream. At least it wouldn't be such a good live stream anyway. Along those lines, if you've got any friends that might enjoy this, send them a text right now. Invite them to come and watch it. Invite them to come and hang out in the chat. And if you're ever in any kind of forums or Facebook groups, please post this link if you enjoy the show and invite people to check it out, because the more we spread the word, the better it can be in the future. So today Maury is away, but we've got Spoon back again. He was here 2 weeks ago, and can you believe it? We've got even more questions for him. So without further ado, please welcome the one and only Spoon Phillips. Hi buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy Labor Day to you. This is a labor of love, so it should be a lot of fun.
That's a good one. Hey, we've got some lag on you. I'm going to kick you out and just come back right back in again, okay? Here we go. I don't want to have any lag on the stream today. Let us know where you're watching from. Say hi to each other in the chat. We'll do that. What we're going to do today is we are going to start with a few questions, a few topics that I have, and then we're going to take your questions. Let's try that.
How am I doing so far?
You're in sync now. We're in sync. We're ready to go. All right. So, yeah, we'll do question and answer the second half of the show. So I'll tell you how that's going to work. But there's a few things I want to ask you. Three things I want to ask you, first of all, Spoon Phillips. First of all, how are you doing? Because we just went through torrential weather. Did you get affected at all?
Well, thank you for asking. I actually live on the top of a ridge at the top of a long slope called Park Slope. And so other than 8th Avenue out front of my apartment turning into a river for a little while, it did not, I was totally shocked the next day because it didn't seem like, compared to Henri, it didn't seem like a bad storm. It didn't seem like there's a lot of wind. The lightning never made it here. And I even did a tour over in Prospect Park over here. There were no trees down, lots of temporary flooded ponds and playgrounds that were completely in the middle of little lakes. But so I was horrified when I finally looked at the New York Times about noon and saw the damage that was done across the Northeast and just across the river from here. Really, really sad.
Yeah.
How did you make out?
Well, we were lucky because we're on the first floor. People on the ground floor had 6 feet of water in their apartment in this building.
I think Aaron needs to point out to Americans that in England, first floor is the second floor to us.
Yeah, that always crosses my mind. So basically, the people in on the street level and the lobby, their places were completely trashed.
Oh.
The basement was trashed. We still have no hot. That's why I was a bit late today to join you, Spoon, because we've got no running hot water at the moment. Of course, that's the least of most people's worries. But yeah, it really hit us hard. And cars and the garage here is below ground, and this building got hit really hard because there's a lot. The water just runs right into the lobby. So it's not great, but yeah, I feel bad for people downstairs, like taking all their possessions out and all that. You know, it's really bad. But anyway, you know, I'm grateful that we're not affected more than that, and I think they're the people that were. But yeah, I'm glad you're okay. And my next question is, if you tuned in last week, we were talking about the true love, and that was you playing that very guitar at the start of the video. Do you have any thoughts and comments on that particular model?
Yeah, I thought it sounds spectacular, looks spectacular. I really like the Homeward, its sister guitar as well, which is a Koa back and sides with the seafaring theme. I think I sometimes forget, some people aren't aware of the fact that for the past more than 15 years, on the first day of Winter NAMM, instead of going to the NAMM show where you can't actually hear anything, I get to go to Martin in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and sit all day in their sound testing room and make my videos of the new guitars. Most of them. I don't always do the Series limited edition since nobody is going to be able to buy one. But and then I put them together in a video review that goes along with my written reviews on my site, One Man's Guitar. And so that was the prototype. That was the prototype that stays in Chris Martin's collection that I was actually playing. And then after a few years of that, Maury and Lori approached me and asked me if I'd be willing to do reviews for them, and I said yes. but they wanted me to use the same format. So all that music is music that I came up with on my own, and most of it's pieces of my various of my compositions, and they wanted me to use the same music, so that's why it sounds like what you hear on Moore's music.
Yeah, I like that piece, especially the one in G there. I've actually found myself playing that, or not the way you do, but playing bits of that just because I've heard it so many times now every week.
You mean the figure style one that I use? That
Yeah.
I do? Yeah, writing back from Boston.
Yeah.
I get lots of requests for about how to play that, and I have the tab. The tab's available on my website.
It is, isn't it? I'll drop your link below in the chat. So if you're watching, please go and support Spoon Phillips. He's got his tabs, his music, his blog. He's got loads of information there, and you can go and support him over there. So speaking of your blog, we should start with something that was exciting to me. I'm not sure about everyone else. Everyone knows I'm a big John Mayer fan, and I was on Instagram, and he was playing that guitar. It was like midnight, and I thought, that looks like some kind of SC13. So I immediately sent it to Spoon. I said, Spoon, what the heck is this? And then we were discussing it, and Spoon did some investigations. What do you think of that?
I said, I'm not allowed to tell you, but then the next day I got permission to tell him, so we could talk about it.
I'm going to jump over to your blog so we can check out the fantastic pictures you managed to get hold of. This thing looks incredible. I want to ask you what you think about this, and I want to then tell you what the viewers on my channel said about it, and then we can just discuss with people in the chat what we think of this model and what they've done with this guitar. So let me just jump over to the desktop here like this. Okay, let me go in for a close-up. So that video there on the left is what I saw, and it was the cutaway that gave it away to me. I'm like, that is an SC13. And also the fact he's with Martin. He wouldn't be playing another guitar that looked like that. I was pretty sure anyway. But let's go in for a close-up here. Can you just tell us the specs again of the woods they're using here?
This is a solid, highly figured cocobolo. Cocobolo is a Central American rosewood. It's a true Dalbergia. It's part of the rosewood family. Its traditional name is cocobolo. And the top is a just shimmering Engelmann spruce top. And of course, he's been a fan of Engelmann since Dick Book turned him onto it, convinced him to use it on his original signature model. He hasn't used it on all his signature models, but it's on his original signature model, which you used to own, not to rub that in, and on the D45 John Mayer, which is Madagascar rosewood back inside. Oh no, it's Guatemalan rosewood back inside, and now it's on this one.
That was my comedy horn for selling a guitar that's now worth double what I sold it for.
Just to remind people, this is based on the SC13E, which is Martin's revolutionary asymmetrical body shape. You'll notice that we can't quite see in those photos so well. The treble side is shifted to the lower bout, which means that the cutaway takes away less sound chamber than it does in a traditional guitar. And so you have a bigger upper bout on the bass side, which then allows it to be a 13 fret guitar. Long scale neck, but it feels like a short scale neck because your hands are just a little closer to your body. And it was made to be an acoustic electric hybrid. They only made them in style 13 at the top of the Road series with special fancier cosmetics. But this is all solid woods made in Nazareth. It's not made in Navajo, Mexico, where they make the SC13E. And in fact, they do not have any tooling in Nazareth to make these. So the guy who made it had to make it by hand. He had to use the old-fashioned iron egg to bend the sides.
No,
and he soaked
wow.
the sides in water and bend the sides. And it's how they still have to do cutaways that way in Nazareth. But they used to do, until about 2005, everything they made had hand bent sides. Now they invented their own machines to do that for most of the normal body sizes. But Rahim had to do this. He basically made the entire thing by hand, and he and Tim Teal did a tag team on the design. And I'm sure other people on the design team were probably involved in throwing in their 2 cents of what they want to do with it.
I'll tell you my thoughts, and I'll tell you what the viewers said in the thoughts, and then we'll do a poll as well. So my thoughts are, of course, I love anything John Mayer to start with. I don't love all of his models, they're not all to my taste, but since I've been looking at the SC13 and keeping an eye on it anyway, And I haven't really played one. I played it at NAMM a couple of times. It doesn't really count. You can't really hear it at NAMM. But I love the idea that it's easy to play, low action, easy to maintain. I like the fact that it's a Martin, but it looks modern. For me, I think that's a cool thing. I absolutely love the wood. I mean, look at those wood. Look at the back of that guitar. It's just ridiculous.
And it must, in person, that kind of stuff, usually photographs just do not do justice to the three-dimensional holographic effect of that kind of wood.
And I love the name on the neck, because I've been thinking lately, like when I play my shows in real life, I often give out cards with my YouTube channel on it. So I would love to have like Aaron Short on there, and then people can Google me and subscribe. So for me, as a stage guitar, and it also kind of harkens back to the days of like the 50s, right? When you had your name on the neck of the guitar. I like it.
Yeah, it goes back to the 30s. Gene Autry.
Gene, yeah.
Yeah, all the way back.
I like it. I really like it. Now, my first thought is that thing, if that is indeed, well, it's a custom shop. If you ordered something like that from the custom shop with all that inlay and everything, we're talking a lot of money, right? A lot of money. So that's
someday they're going to accept custom SC orders. I think even Martin was unprepared for how well received the SC13E was, and they wanted to offer it at a reasonable price for the popularity's sake. I've already mentioned this in public before that I played prototypes of the SC project across the process, and they of course did do one that was in solid rosewood and Sitka, and basically had style 28 appointments, and it was more heavily braced. It was an earlier prototype, so it's not as lightly braced as the SC13 turned out to be. And I'm assuming this has the regular bracing that the SC, well, if you want to call it regular, the unusual tone tension bracing, they're calling it, on the SC13E. So
it's got the abalone that I love, and it even goes around around the neck of the guitar there, and it's
that's something that John Mayer invented. He was the one that came up with that.
Really
for one of his signature models, maybe the 0045 12 fret, maybe in the first time.
Yeah,
that was his idea. Yeah.
It looks incredible. I absolutely love it. So my thoughts were, I love it. And I would love that guitar with my name on the neck. And a lot of people said, I don't want someone else's name on a signature guitar, let alone on the fretboard. I completely get that. Why would you? It doesn't really make sense. But I had this crazy idea that Martin could do a very limited run of these where they put your name on the fretboard. Of course, that would be really expensive. But I just thought it'd be a really fun thing to do. Like, we're accepting 100 custom orders with your name on it. And then we're going to do a cheaper version like the OMJM. But, they haven't got the resources to do anything like that right now. But what a cool guitar. And then my last question was, what pickup did they go with? Did they just throw in the Gold Plus, or did they go with something different?
No, actually, Raheem said that he was going to put in a Gold Plus. And the reason John uses the Gold Plus is he uses a feedback buster in arenas and big auditoriums. And you can't put those in when you have the volume and tone control inside. But ultimately he went with the Matrix Infinity, which has the tone and volume control, because this model is by design more feedback resistant than a typical Martin. From my experience with the prototypes, they're not feedback proof. These are not, they really are a hybrid. They're really not electric guitars. It's not that difficult to. The solid wood one, of course, is more resonant, so it was easier to get that to feedback by pointing it at the amp. When I was playing the SC13 at the day they came out, and I was in the museum, on the museum stage, interviewing Martin guys and doing demo videos and stuff, I couldn't get it to feedback. I was actually trying, and it wouldn't feedback. Granted, it wasn't a Marshall stack that I was playing through, but it was amazingly gigantic sounding when you plug it in.
I read that in your article, and I had some thoughts about that. I think they said they chose to use the Matrix Infinity because it won't feedback, and because that you want the sound hole controls. I feel like, from what I've heard from Martin, I feel like they want to push that because they have those controls in all their guitars now. I personally wouldn't do that. Actually, with the Matrix Infinity, you can just disconnect that control module, and you can basically turn it into a Gold Plus. It's just just inside the preamp. Yeah, so you could do that. I used to be really against sound hole plugs, obviously, because then you can't smell the guitar very easily. but that's a joke. I used to be really against them. I felt like they were kind of got in the way and they affected the tone a little bit. But lately, I've been using them, especially in the guitars I have with like 3 pickups. I just put it in there. I have nothing to worry about. And like you said, I still believe this guitar would feed back on an arena with huge monitor speakers. So
that's what you have. I mean, when you're John Mayer, you can afford the sound men to keep that from happening.
Right.
But
Right.
just to be clear to people, the SC13E has the MXT pickup, which is what they use in the Rhodes series, which has the onboard tuner, which I absolutely love. I know some people want that bridge plate sensor. I don't see why you couldn't have both. I don't see why they couldn't put a tuner in it and that. But
I was hoping they would do something new for this. You know, if I was John Mayer, I'd ask them to spec me out some kind of custom.
John didn't know about this guitar at all.
Okay.
This was entirely a surprise. Fred and John go way back, and they are really good friends. And so this was actually a surprise present for John Mayer. And it was not meant to garner any kind of publicity at all. And they didn't expect to ever even tell anybody about this. But he, and of course, it's not going to hurt them any if he starts playing this thing in concert, of course. But
okay, so well, exactly. It's really going to raise the profile of that model, of course. But just to wrap this up, then basically the overall opinion on this model from my channel was it's kind of gaudy and it's over the top, and not many people said they liked it. To be honest. I'm now going to make a poll to ask the chat if they like it or not. And yeah, I mean, I really like it, but I feel like I'm a John Mayer fan and I like that kind of blingy thing for a stage guitar. But the overall opinion was that it's just too much. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm not surprised, but I would have a rhetorical question after the poll or during the poll of, are the people who think it's too much, do they think a D41 is too much? And a D42 is too much, and an OM42, and do they find Pearly Martins too much to begin with? Of course, the name on the fretboard, lots of people are, opposed to that. I mean, that goes all the way back to Jimmy Rogers, and I'll tell you, flat guarantee you, everybody from Gene Autry to John Cash to name goes on and on and on, saw Jimmy Rogers with his name on his guitar, Buck Owens, all those people, and said, I want my name on guitar.
I like it. Would you do that? Would you have Spoon on your...
I actually thought it made me think of that too when I saw it. I'm not. John Mayer actually has had a lifelong hobby of design. He's a big-time draftsman and designer, and he designs his own fonts, and he's really big on kind of the way that Prince doesn't like to have any kind of brand names on his guitars. Mayer likes to use his own fonts and all his own things, and so that's a font that they reproduced from the font that he invented for his latest album, Sob Rock. And I'm maybe not that crazy about the font. I think there are other cooler fonts. Martin, by the way, will do this for anybody. Anybody can have their name put on their fretboard if they want. That's not an issue.
I wonder, I don't want to speculate, but I wonder what kind of charge it is. I mean, that's a lot of inlay work, right? Aaron Short on the fretboard.
Yeah, it is. And it probably just depends on how long the name is, too. I wouldn't be surprised. They have to figure in hourly wage, and, some of their best Pearl people are going to be doing the work. So here's a little disclaimer. I was talking Ramin up, and he is one of their top designers. He's nowadays he's basically in charge of anything that's made in Navajo, and does a lot of special work like this, of course. But Martin is really big on team efforts, and they're not really big on pushing and publicizing individual people at Martin. When people found out that Dale Track was the main Pearl guy, then they started getting a zillion people specifically requesting Dale to do the roses on their fretboard. And when, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right now, Van Nye, his name might be Aaron Van Nye, actually. When they found out he was doing all the hand carving of the authentic necks, he was the guy that was making the neck based on the original pre-war Martin. Everybody insisted on him doing their neck. So both of those guys are retired now, so I can mention their names. But they really don't. I think Ramin would probably be a little abashed that I'm mentioning his name all over the place online. But he really did build this guitar basically by himself. So good on him.
Really, really cool. All right, one more thing before we go on to our Q&A session. So I'm really excited to announce, this is a first for me and the channel, next Wednesday at 4 p.m. EST, I have a new, well, she's not new, but she's a luthier that just started her own company in the UK called Tempest Guitars. So she's been building guitars with some other builders, but she's now gone out on her own. And she has just built her first guitar under her own brand. So she's going to be here next Wednesday at 4 p.m. EST to show the guitar and discuss how she builds guitars. I think that's going to be really, really cool. And I'd really appreciate it if people can join us for that to support her and make that a great event. And to further promote that, I want to show you a video that she's made, because she's also an artist and musician as well. She's made a video, and I didn't know about this. There's a mahogany tree, which is super rare, that's been used by some very small builders. And I also did some research. It turns out, Spoon, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Martin used this for a few guitars as well. Is that right?
I think so, because I've heard that, but I don't think I ever saw them in person. So I don't know if they were made for NAMM show specials. But I do know that this goes back many years now, that this really kind of kickstarted the whole synchro mahogany phenomenon. And it was a tree that had been that had sunk and never made it to a logging mill, and then and even people tried to get it out years ago and weren't able to do it, and then eventually somebody actually did, and took it and found out that it had unusual genetic anomalies about it. So people know about quilted wood, quilted maples used all the time, quilted mahogany and so forth, and or bird's eye maple, these sorts of woods. Usually to get fancy stuff like this, you have to flat saw the wood, which is quite different than quarter sawing, the straight grain quarter sawing that you usually would see on something like a Martin, which is traditionally believed to be more physically stable. But everybody will tell you these days there's plenty of beautiful flat sawn, amazing wood that, like John Mayer's guitar we just looked at, that don't have any physical issues. But the point is, this wood apparently, no matter how you sawed it, how it was sawn, had outrageous burl patterning. Sometimes quilted, sometimes they have a bunch of different names for the different kind of stuff. But it's really remarkable. Just look it up. To look up guitars, look it up online. Guitars made by The Tree, and it was like I think they believe it was 900 years old at the time it was felled. So you're talking about serious old growth mahogany.
I'm going to play some of this video. We'll take a little break, Spoon. I'm going to play a bit of this video. And this is Daisy's video, and she's joining me next Wednesday, 4 p.m. EST. Please put it on your calendar. We'll be right back, and then we'll start the Q&A, okay? Oh, we're going to stay on the camera. I don't want to. Why are we there? Hang on. Okay. We'll stay on the screen.
I can watch it. I can see they're watching.
We'll watch it together. Here we go.
If you're constantly seeing references to the tree and have no idea what it's about or why it's so expensive, I'm about to clear that right up for you. So it all starts with a rainforest in South America and a tree. So a group of loggers were in the forest at the time, looking for wood to harvest and then sell on. When they saw this huge, colossal mahogany tree, they jumped to the opportunity to fell it. It's sad that they felled such a beautiful tree. I guess that's the way it was back then. What they weren't expecting is for their tree to fall the wrong way into a ravine. Obviously that kind of meant their plan was a bit scuppered. So as time passes, the tree's just left there, it's too big to drag out. In the 80s, another logger comes along and his name is Robert Novak. His team come across this massive tree in the ravine. They definitely wanted to find a way to make the most of this discovery. It's not every day you find a tree just lying there ready for the taking. The only problem was finding a way to get it out. So Robert has an idea. Using the power of flowing water, he floats the tree down the stream to a steam-powered sawmill. When they got it there, he cut the tree open. Turns out there was a genetic mutation in the tree never seen before or since in any other tree on the planet. A lot of people refer to it as a kind of tortoise shell look. So Novak sold this amazing wood into furniture, chairs, tables, desks, etc. It's even rumoured that George Lucas had his office in San Francisco panelled in this wood, which is cool. And then when the 90s came, guitar makers started seeing this wood and thought, why can't we use it? As you probably guessed by now, the wood was absolutely stunning. And after a quick tap test, we realised it sounded awesome as well. And that's why this tree has so much hype. I personally think it's with good reason. I've put the link in the bio to a real picture of this amazing stuff so you can see for yourself. Thanks for watching.
Very, very cool. I love her video. She's done a few like that. She's done one about...
I love the sunglasses she put on.
She's done one about like how what a quarter sawn wood is, and she's got the video showing how it's all done. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. So that's Daisy Tempest. Look up her guitar website, Tempest Guitars, and she'll be here next Wednesday, cool. 4 p.m. EST. Please join us if you can and support. Fantastic. So, are you ready? We're going to start the Q&A. I'm just going to put in the chat how we're going to do this so we know what's happening. I'm going to say, please type a Q and then put your question. If you send a super chat, I'll put those to the top of the list if you want to support the channel. And it's in there now. And while we're waiting for more questions to come in, I'll just go back up the top and see if we had any and just say hi to people. Lee is here. Hi, Lee. Great to see you. Lee and Rosanna are moderating today. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Old says, hi, Aaron. Welcome back, Spoon. Hi, everybody. Good to see you, Olds. And Mark Davis is here from North Carolina. And Philip Watson's here, says, hi, guys. Philip, how you doing? Have you had a new guitar day this week? Let us know. Patsy and Byrne watching from sunny Suffolk. I'm glad it's sunny there. And Old says, darn it, that guitar did sound nice. Spoon Phillips was playing. Roth is here, says hi to everyone. Jim is in Vermont. Rosalind's in Connecticut. Kooky is here. I'm not sure where Kooky is today, but he's here. Good to see you, buddy. And Rosanna, hi, Aaron Spoon, and everyone in the chat. Ricardo K is here. Colin is here. Patsy Smith loved the tone of the True Love guitar. Yes, it does sound very, very good. And, okay, we have a question from Kooky. Let's start with this. Very cool question. We go straight in there with this one. After reviewing so many Martin guitars, I mean, Spoon, you've played so many videos just on Maury's channel alone, right? You've played all these Martin guitars. Can you still be surprised and fall in love with a new or old Martin unexpectedly?
Oh, absolutely. In recent history, I could say the OME Cherry was a big surprise to me. I thought and that one again was first playing the prototype, but then playing the one that went to the show, playing other ones later on. I'm not exactly sure. I do know, I think it was the first Cherry Martin that has the simple dovetail neck joint instead of the M&T neck joint, so that may have had something to do with it. But I think that's and it's also got European spruce top. Excuse me, and that was a surprising winner. Yeah, it will definitely happen. I love this stuff as much as you guys do, and having the opportunity to go to Nazareth every January up until last year, and well, actually I was there last year, not this year, and the first GP that they made, that Aaron remembers now, that's without a cutaway, was a NAMM show special that. Or maybe it was a custom shop series back when they had the custom shop series. But it was their first Guatemalan rosewood guitar as well, and there was something. Oh, it was showing off the Torfax, the VTS top. That was a really cool and unusually impressive guitar. I really wasn't expecting to like it nearly as much as I did. So yeah, totally happens.
I agree. Like when I was in Nashville, I fell in love with a few guitars. And I think when you're actually in the place and you play them, that's when you connect with them even more so than online, in my opinion. Lewis is here. Good to see you, buddy. Let's go, he says. He's very enthusiastic, as always. Rosanna loves the D True Love, and she's waiting for her true love to buy her true love so she can find true love. Again. Oh, careful, Aaron. Careful what you say.
Lee, they do have lotteries in England, I believe, don't they still?
I was trying to enter today. Not for the true love, though. Rosanna, Spoon's checking over the guitar. Lee's going to buy you, see? Rick Joe, how you doing? Rick Joe from London. Oh, I've got my Anderton shirt on today. Do you buy from Anderton's? And Rosanna just loves that guitar. She wants it. She wants that guitar. Hopefully it'll happen, Rosanna. Kuki says, I don't remember that blue Strat hanging on my wall. I've had that for a while. That's a Sweetwater. It's based on last year's American Pro, but what they did was they made like a custom run in that color and with the roasted neck. And then I had the silent Illich system installed to make it quiet. It's a very, very, very cool guitar. BMO's here. Hi, everyone. Could you please ask Spoon about the miking technique used in that clip just played? Yeah, good question. So in that clip we played at the very start, we actually, this is a question from last week. You had an interesting way of miking that up. Can you explain the process there?
Yeah, it's I've changed it a little bit since then, but what I do is I have a pair of Activa small diaphragms from Russia, but they've actually been rewired and get different capsules. Michael Jolly up in New England was doing this for a number of years. I bought them from him. So he buys those kind of mics and then he basically upgrades them. And the large diaphragm mic, similar. He actually takes out the grill and puts in a much more airy grill and changes the capsule and everything except the. I think that's actually a Marshall microphone casing, but it's completely rewired and hot rodded. And I tend to put them out so I can just barely be able to touch the small diaphragm mic, and that is set at the 12th fret, but it's actually pointing at about the 18th fret, so right in front of the sound hole. And then I have the mic that's over here that's set parallel to it, usually, if I can get them right, parallel distance. But I have that pointed in, so it's pointing just behind the bridge. And I use those in stereo, and then depending on how it comes out, I'll tend to bleed them in a little bit because most people are listening with headphones today, so I don't tend to use true left-right. And then the large diaphragm mic is pointed in front of the bridge, and I barely bring that in my mix to fill in the center. So it's almost a full left-right, and then I bring the large diaphragm mic in. Large diaphragm mics, they will pick up highest highs and lowest lows, but have a lot of empty kind of airiness in between them. So I just bring it in just to try to get the extreme harmonic and the extreme bass bottom end, and I put that in the center channel so it kind of fills it out. And then when I take them home, I used to do what a lot of people do is say this has no processing, but I really realized every microphone and every preamp adds color, and so I do process them with a little bit of EQ, and I will try to approximate what I think my ear heard when I'm in Martin's sound room. And so I try to do an initial mix of them that night. I'm usually staying at a bed and breakfast overnight at Martin in Nazareth, and or nowadays, well, in more modern times, I'm staying at a guy's house that works for Martin. And so I'll basically just sit there and try to do a relatively quick mix of them. And then when I get home, I'll do the real mixing and then sync them to the videos.
And then, yeah, Kuki was saying the same thing, I think. Why do you use 3 mics on some videos and avoid cancelling? Yeah, is that a problem using 3 mics? You get any issues with phasing or anything like that?
No, I don't tend to do that. I mean, you can always flip the phase if that happens. But for the most part, I'm using just the stereo, and I'm then bringing in, like I said, I'm bringing in that third mic just till it's really until you don't notice it, but you notice it when you cut it out. That's basically what I do. And you will hear some, and you hear, particularly if I'm in some other room, you'll hear if I'm in a room that has any kind of slapback, you will hear more slightly out of phase stuff. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. You hear people doing that all the time. It's not a big concern for me. It's not like I'm making a record with it that way. But
Maury is here, keeping an eye on us. Look. And
Ah,
hi, Aaron Spoon, all in the
I
chat.
told him we
Sorry.
were going to talk about him behind his back.
Can't stay, but I'm so psyched to watch the replay tonight. Okay. Be careful what you say, Spoon. And thanks for putting the Q there, because I have to scroll through all the messages. So if I missed your question, just retype it with the Q at the start, because that's what I'm filtering here to make sure I don't miss anything. So just retype it if I missed it. Kooky says, is the Maya SC13 like SC13 like custom guitar, all solid wood? Yes, definitely, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And Spoon, do you think they'll offer custom bolt-on necks for the SC13E? That's an interesting question.
No, they have their own proprietary neck joint that they invented that requires two adjustments, but one of them comes up. There's a little hole in the back of the neck, and you get a very long tool that goes up through the body. I mean, the back of the body. You go up through that into the neck joint. It also uses pre-made shims that are produced on a digital printer that of different sizes to set the action of exactly where you want it. So that's basically what they're going to do. I don't. Well, maybe what you meant. Maybe the question is, are you going to be able to order different kind of necks made for that model? So it's not bolt. They're not. It's not really a bolt-on. It's hard. It's very hard to explain, but it's almost something that fits into a slot, and I guess there is a bolt involved, but it's not. Saying it's a bolt-on makes it sound like it's a Husson Dalton or a Taylor. It's completely different than that.
I think he means, like, could I order a neck with stainless steel frets on it? Or they just ship me the neck?
I would say the sky's the limit right now. They didn't know for certain. It was entirely possible, being Martin guitar, that the world was not going to accept this newfangled Martin. But the opposites happened. If the pandemic crisis hadn't arrived, we would be farther along in this. I'm sure. That you don't. I don't work for Martin. I never say things that I know about unless I get clearance or it breaks someplace else. And even if it breaks someplace else, John Prine started playing his guitar. I still wrote Fred or Tim Allen or somebody and said, does this mean I can talk about this now? Because I'm not going to be allowed to sit in the design room and look at lists of things that might be coming out 6 years from now if I talk about them. So what I'm about to say is not that. But I would think by this time we would have had a D13E Zero Cody model would have probably come out, because they're already doing those fancy Zero Cody veneers on Style 13 guitars. I don't think we would be anywhere near seeing a Nazareth-made SC, and I think that's going to be way down the road. Once there's an SC series that I keep predicting in my crystal ball, there'll be an SC series. These will never be part of the standard series because they don't have dovetail neck joints. But you will be able to buy an SC28 that's with SC construction someday. And 18, I might be the first person to buy an SC18E once they come out.
Interesting thought.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So everybody knows this is a new era. Chris Martin has officially stepped down. So we have a new CEO. We're eventually going to have a new president. It's entirely possible that we may be looking at a wild and woolly, Wild West kind of era of experimentation, and where SD necks are pick your neck wood, all that stuff.
I think so. I think they have to, don't they? They have to keep the traditional stuff for the people that still love that, and the people that said they don't like the look of that John Mayer guitar obviously like the traditional stuff. But they also need to cater to modern times and try new things and all that. But I guess, though, with the pandemic, it's hard to do that because all their resources now are focused on making as many standard series instruments as they possibly can, right?
And this is really Chris Martin's legacy. He was the one who was able to do both, to go back and bring the vintage stuff up to the authentic level and come out with the Performing Artist series, which didn't really take off. It sold pretty well, but what worked about it, they incorporated it into the standard series and the road series, and and other innovations like what we're seeing. This was part of his legacy.
Very interesting stuff. Okay. So there's this information Spoon knows that he's not allowed to tell us about. Spoon, why don't you to take a shot of this fine whiskey I have here? just drink this whole cup of this fine whiskey, malt whiskey, and then we'll continue. We'll continue the show.
Outrageous malt whiskey last night, thanks to my whiskey patron. I have to tell you. Just for those who know what I'm talking about, it was a single cask, independent bottling, 20-year-old Ardbeg, which is about as close to a unicorn as you can find in the malt whiskey world. It was spectacular.
Well, by the way, I saw Steve Smith's custom guitar you helped design the other day. It looked absolutely stunning as well. Did you see that?
I did not see where.
Yeah, it's on. Maury did one of his shows, and he showed off that custom. And it's got a fantastic looking back. I must invite Steve Smith to send me video and pictures when he gets the guitar, so I can show it on this channel as well. And don't forget, the address to send that to is sayhi@aaronshortmusic.com. Thank you. All right, next question. We just discussed that, Olds. Do you know what pickup John Mayer went with? Yeah, so I was really hoping there'd be this thing about John Mayer did some experiments with us and we got this new system, but they just put the old Fishman undersaddle in there, which is fine. It works for him.
Should this ever turn into a signature model? And they're absolutely saying, don't say that, don't say that, say that. This has nothing to do with that. But David Gilmour's signature model was originally a private D35 that he ordered years ago. So, someday, maybe.
One question about that, though. With signature models, don't they usually release those pictures when that's available? Like with this one, they've basically said we sent one to John. Would they do that and then release it as a limited signature model? Would they do it in reverse that?
No, I'm telling you, Fred, Ramin, Tim, everybody's saying, don't get people's hopes up that this is somehow related to any kind of Martin model that's going to be coming out. This was something that was made expressly for John Mayer as a gift, as a surprise, and I
think the closest we'll get will be like a 28 kind of thing, higher grade wood.
Yeah, he's got more signature models, I think, than maybe Eric Clapton has more, but he's got a lot of them. So, and if you haven't noticed, they're kind of getting out of the signature model business these days, and they're not putting them out like they used to. So time will tell.
Cookie says, does that have the low profile or the MLO neck shape?
No, it's got the proprietary profile that was made expressly for the SC13E, which is a what's the name of it? I'm sorry, I'm blanking out on this, but it is designed with a corkscrew. Is it helix the right word? So it turns your hand as you go up. It's basically a modernized version of the neck they put on it's different than the Modern Deluxe. It's almost the opposite of the Modern Deluxe, but it still goes back to pre-war Martins that were made with a asymmetrical shaping to the neck, so that when you're playing up here, it's designed shaped to be played up here. When you're playing down here, it's designed to be for a hand shaped like that. And it was an art that was actually lost at Martin and rediscovered when they were going to make the OM 45 Deluxe 1930.
So the poll results.
I was in the room and they discovered it.
The poll results are in. 68% say that guitar's beautiful and 31% said it's ugly. But it's very interesting. I think we're biased on this show because people on my channel that are kind of a mix of different guitar brand fans, overall they said it was ugly. But on this show, more people say it's beautiful. Do you think that's because we're biased towards Martin here?
I think it's a bit much to say ugly. I see people. I think it's ugly. I see this all the time.
That's me being outrageous.
Amazing guitars. Yeah, I mean, I would have had at least 9 answers to get a real sampling of what they thought of it.
That was just me being like, is it beautiful or is it ugly? I don't want to be like in the middle with that. And then I'm going to do another poll now. Would you have your name on the fretboard? Yes or no? Okay.
Well, I've never really thought of it, but I would say yes, based on what you said, as something specifically for performing on stage. If I could afford that and have that guitar. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I thought about getting a hold of Dale Tracht and having him put a spoon in the
Oh yeah, the headstock, a
in the
spoon.
headstock of my guitar, or maybe on the fretboard. But I was thinking more of the headstock.
Yeah.
But I never got that far.
I think that's definitely a thing you want if you're playing on stage, right? If you're playing on stage, you're playing on live streams, you really want to do that thing, and you like that vibe of the Elvis Presley type thing. They're great, but I can see why
My
people
name
wouldn't like it too.
my name's pretty busy. Phillips is it's a Welsh word for God's sake. So I would probably just have a large, SPO and probably
Yeah.
or teaspoon, one or the other. But
All right. Jim says, do you have to go all the way up to the modern deluxe for an all mahogany neck? What select hardwoods are in the standard series and lower? How does not using mahogany affect the tone of the guitar?
well, now Linda Davis Wallen, the chief woodbuyer, she's on record, but it's probably 5 years ago that she was on record saying the standard series has always used genuine mahogany, what they call genuine mahogany. So tropical American big leaf mahogany. And might they have slipped some SIPO in there, which is an African mahogany that's as it is as close to tropical American mahogany as you can get in terms of density. I can't answer that because I've never really asked anybody if that's happened over the past few years. But right now, the standard series is spec to have in the factory is spec to have genuine mahogany neck. Spanish cedar, which they use a lot on guitars in Mexico and sometimes in Nazareth, is a member of the mahogany family. It does not have the same density. So when they came out with the D21 Special and OM21 Special, it was immediately obvious that it made for a more open, airy sounding voice, even though it was still Indian rosewood Sitka spruce. It was but also both of those had a skinnier bridge. They had a pyramid bridge. So you have to take that into account of what effect might that have on tone as well. But the biggest problem with Spanish cedar is it dents easier. You can get capo marks in it easier. It's just a softer wood. And I would never put it like in a very low profile neck without an adjustable neck rod either, because it just doesn't have the same density. But I think for the most part, necks these days at Martin are either genuine mahogany or they're SIPO, African SIPO, and that you can get some genuine mahogany necks will show up on 16s, and it's just if they have to run out of the neck spec for that instrument, they will use a real genuine mahogany neck on it. So but for the most part, once you get up to the standard series, you're pretty sure you're going to get a genuine mahogany neck.
Old says, what tone would you consider close to mango?
I'm not familiar with mango without a mango top, so that's not a fair assessment. I know people who have mango guitars made by other builders with cedar tops and spruce tops and really love it. But based on, I could only really base it on CEO 9, and I would say it's closer to walnut than koa in its, though I still think it's a little more shimmery, has a little more shimmer to it than walnut, but not as much as that vibrant, high harmonic thing you get out of koa.
Right, great question from Rick Joe. He's in the UK, by the way. He says, Spoon, would you go for a boutique maker at a decent price, equivalent to Martin prices, like Aitken in the UK, not US boutiques, which are too expensive? Okay, he means like the Santa Cruz and everything is high price, but there's some small builders, which is what we're talking about next week with Daisy. There's a lot of builders in the UK that are more affordable. How about buying one of those, even getting a custom one at a lower price than an imported Martin guitar, which I hear is very expensive in the UK and Europe because of the import costs and everything. What about going for a boutique builder in the UK or Europe over a Martin Standard Series?
Well, I would say if it was me and I was going to go that route, I certainly would want to play their guitars. I have a Martin ear, so that means like Martin Santa Cruz direction. And in other words, a lot of wavy resonance, a lot of intermarrying harmonic-y stuff, as opposed to the Collings Hudson Dalton, which gives you very straight in their lane notes, very pure notes, and things kind of give you a very almost photographic image to my ear compared to the Martin or Santa Cruz sound. So I would be looking for luthiers whose reputation is building in the Martin style and caring about the Martin style, and who use real dovetail neck joints, because that's part of how you get that sound. That doesn't mean I would not go and play Flide and play some of these other small shop luthier guitars. I'd love to play them, and if I could afford to live over there, One Man's Guitar would probably be reviewing a lot of their guitars. But I wouldn't count out George Loudon and his son, because Loudons are very different from Martins. But boy, I played one the other day that same guy that owns the malt whiskey has a wonderful Indian rosewood cedar Loudon that I could play. I'd be happy to sit there for hours and play it by myself and be highly entertained.
Yeah, they're great guitars. There's a story that so Ed Sheeran had his models with Martin, and then Ed Sheeran started playing Loudon because he grew up liking Damien Rice, like I did too. He used to play this amazing Loudon guitar. Actually, had a good pickup system in it too. And then he got some Loudons, and now he's playing Loudon. And I read a story that he sent a Loudon to John Mayer, who really likes it. And I was wondering at that point, is John Mayer going to move away from Martin? Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I wonder how they feel about that Ed Sheeran is now playing Loudons. I guess artists like we do like to try different models, different brands and everything, but yeah,
they inspire you. There's always new music comes out of a new guitar. That doesn't mean that maybe in his case, maybe he's this is it, this is all I'm going to do from now on. Well, most people are not that way. There's an awful lot of people who record, known being Martin or Gibson players, who have a lot of Collings on their records because they record so well because of that straight in their lane note stuff, and you don't run into a lot of feedback and a lot of woof and a lot of getting tangled up in the mix kind of problems.
I was just worried, because obviously John Mayer left Fender and went to PRS, so he could. When I saw that guitar, I thought, is that a PRS? Is that a Breedlove? Is that a Loudon? It was my first thought. But I'm glad that it's not. Are you going to feed the cats today? Because I can play a viewer's comment if you want to.
The landlady has just started yelling at me. How did you know? Could you hear her? She wants to know why I'm not in the living room.
I'm like, is that my cat or is it yours? Hang on. Patty Smith, thank you for the super chat. Aaron and Spoon, we just love your chat. So entertaining. Well, thank you. You didn't even give us a question, but that's fine. Well, I'm actually going to do a viewer's comment now because I've got a viewer's comment. So if you want to go and feed the cat, that's fine with us. And then we'll come back.
It's a treat. I'll feed her a little early. Very good.
And then we'll come back and get back to the questions. So we'll be right back. And today's viewer's comment is coming right up. Oh, yes, that's right.
I'm still here.
Yeah, don't worry. I was just thinking they're going to see you, but they're not going to see you. Hang on. Oh, perhaps they are. I'm going to turn your camera off just in case you want to get up and go and feed the cats.
Very good. I'm going to do that.
There we go. All right. So today,
you're in luck. You're getting fed early.
Let me mute him in case he starts talking to his cat. Today's viewers' comment, and thank you. And by the way, I always need more viewers' comments, so please do send them in because I always need more. Every week I have one or two, and then I need another one. So obviously every week we do this. We need more videos, more pictures. I know a few people last week bought guitars. If you want to film the unboxing or just take a picture of it, anything like that at all would be really fantastic. Of course, if you want to play a song for us, it's even better. Just make sure it's not copyrighted, okay? So this comes from Jim B. He sent this in a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going to take us over to YouTube and show you this one from Jim B. So many thanks. Let me give you a round of applause for that. Many thanks to Jim, and I'll just read out his message that he sent me as well because it's very nice. He says, "Hi Aaron, I'm just one of your YouTube fans that enjoy your Sunday and Monday shows. Well, don't forget I'm doing Thursdays as well now, 4 p.m. EST. And I also get a lot of laughs from you and Maury. Attached is a link to a YouTube video of me celebrating my 1-year membership with an online course. The first song that I learned is St. James's Infirmary. St. James Infirmary. And there's a link to the video. It says, keep up the good work and please let me know if you are going to play in Vermont. I'd love to see you play in person. Oh, hopefully one day, Jim. It says, you have my permission to show this or delete it. No, because that's excellent. And he says he's just a beginner. That's amazing. Excellent. I mean, fingerstyle guitar like that takes a lot of dedication. So great job, Jim. Keep it up and send me some more videos in the future. Okay, let's switch back to Spoon Phillips and see if he's come back from feeding the cats. Yeah, it looks like the cats are happy and we're happy too. All right. my cats will be meowing next for their meal.
I have but one, but yes, she makes the noise of two.
All right, let me get back to the questions. Here's a good one from Jim. Oh, this is Jim. Perfect timing, Jim. Thanks for the video. Your thoughts on, he says, Aaron, your thoughts on Sweetwater being bought out by an equity firm. Hopefully not going the way of Guitar Center. So this is big news right now. I had Chuck from Sweetwater on the show last year during lockdown. He was one of my favorite interviewees because he's so inspiring. He's got several businesses. He's done an amazing job. He's got an amazing story of building up Sweetwater from scratch, from nothing, into this amazing business, right? It's fantastic. But he is now taking a bit of a seat back. He's going to be doing, he'll be on the board, but he won't be the CEO anymore. So he sold it to an equity firm. Now, this kind of reminds me a little bit, so with Jim's talking about Guitar Center, this is a little bit like Martin, right? So Chris Martin's taking a bit of a back seat, and we've got someone, Thomas is there now. Chuck is taking a bit of a back seat. We've got a new firm coming in. I think people are worried, Spoon, because, like he says there, Guitar Center, in some people's opinions, that was a bad thing for them to do that, and other companies too that kind of sell or move things along. My thoughts are everyone has to kind of move on eventually, and I think Sweetwater is such an amazing company. I feel like it's going to be okay. But what are your thoughts on that, and also with the whole Martin thing as well? What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say congratulations on that video. I was busy while I was playing, but I heard it, so I'm looking forward to paying more attention to it in the replay after this is all over. It was my understanding that this is different than Guitar Center. That Guitar Center was a matter of financial shortcomings. That it was a debt issue, and a bad economy issue, and they were seeking to be rescued. I'm not an expert on this, but that was my understanding of it, hearing other people talk about it. But I think it reminds me a little bit about the guy who lived down the street, who started Brooklyn Brewery, and started this little company that became very successful. And somebody bought him from him, so he and his wife could spend the rest of their lives going around the world. I don't blame them at all. So when somebody builds up a business and puts a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in it, I totally get it if that then allows them to move it on to people who might even make a bigger success of it,
right?
Because they have a greater investment capability. Here's to hoping so.
That's how I thought about it too. But a lot of people were just saying, "Oh no, it's the end. They're going to change everything."
The guys at Sweetwater that I've dealt with, just as a basic consumer, I've always liked the fact that they're friendly. I like the fact they follow up the way they do, and very, very customer service oriented. And I would not expect that to change. I'm assuming those employees are going to be the same employees.
Right.
And, you're still going to basically get the same business. But, I'm knocking on wood that on the long run, it's going to be a good thing. So
I was thinking the same thing. It's such a great business. It'd be very hard for them to kind of ruin it. But who knows? I mean, you just have to wait and see, right? But like we said, people have to move on. It's always sad and as a music fan, isn't it? It's like when Chris announced that with Martin and Bob Taylor, and even when they start getting ready for that, like Tim Cook is now talking about he'll be stepping down short, he's to do one more big release, and then he wants to step down. So it's just kind of an end of an era, isn't it? It's just I think that's
Absolutely.
the initial feeling that I get with that stuff. It's like, oh no, it's going to change. But yeah, like you said, it could get better. It could get even better. So I've not heard anyone say that apart from you. So you're clearly the optimist here. No, it's the truth. I've not heard anyone say it could get even better. Most people are saying that could be the end of them, but we
Well,
shall have to see.
I think most of us have an inherent gene about big business and politicians both that we like to lump them all in as being bad. It's bad,
Yeah.
as if without politicians we would get along just fine with no bridges and streets and hospitals, or whatever. And likewise with not every big corporation is a bad thing.
Right.
So, but we will see. It's early days.
Yeah. I missed one from Colin. He said, how close is the tone between mahogany back and sides and Koa back and sides? I'm thinking Koa being a mahogany sandwich, such as the 00013E versus 00018.
Oh, you're talking about having mahogany veneers put on Koa veneers put on a core. And when they do that, style 13, it is kaya. I'm not sure how you really say it in the African language that it's from, but it's what furniture makers call genuine mahogany for a couple of centuries now, and I was surprised when they started doing this with the 13s that I believe you do get some of that koa shimmer reflecting up in the voice from just that veneer, because that's really where the sound waves are striking and bouncing off of, and that they do not sound exactly the same. The Zircote and the koa, same guitar, or the Mutenier and the Zircote, that it actually makes a difference. So I think the Mutenier may be is actually solid wood, but so you're talking about tonal difference. I'm not sure. Solid koa versus mahogany, to me, I think of koa as not having as sonorous a low, mid, and bass as you get from rosewood or mahogany. A lot of people don't think of mahogany as being bassy, but it is actually quite bassy. It's just not as bassy as rosewood. And in terms of the actual fullness and roundness of the notes, I think koa gets you a punchier mid-range, but what it really does when it starts to age, and that harmonic complexity stuff is much more in the highs and across the high harmonics, as opposed to a rosewood that has all that complexity down in the undertone. But and a koa top even more, but a koa top takes years to break in, so they tend to be kind of subdued. But that's not really answering your question. It sounds like you really want to go with the fancy, gorgeous mahogany veneers. I would say it's not going to sound that much like mahogany. It's going to sound more like koa.
Very, very important question from Rosanna. How many D True Loves were made? My answer is not very many. Not very helpful.
I'm guessing 50. You'd have to go, if you go on onemans.com to the guitar site and look up I'm sorry, I never did a review. I didn't do a review of these two because there were so many, I had so much going on at that time. I recorded the videos and I never actually wrote the reviews. So you would have to look at, my extemporaneous talk I gave on Maury's site back when that guitar came out. I'm sure I mentioned it somewhere. But
I am doing a quick Google here to see if I can see it. But I remember doing this with the other model, and I couldn't find that information. The Homeward, I couldn't find that out either. I really struggled to get that info sometimes.
Let me do it. If you're doing that, I'll do that too real quick just to see.
Everyone do it. Everyone, quick. All 30 people. Google it.
Let's see who can win.
See who can find the answer first. How many Martin D. True Loves were made? Ah, here's their press release. Were these released together or a year apart?
Yeah, they were at the same time.
Okay, so the D. True Love, Sailor Jerry, Ford Shifted X Bracing. Does not say how many they made. Even on there, see. I do wish sometimes Martin would put more details on these things.
That's interesting. These may have been open-ended editions. They may have been based on dealer orders.
Okay. So sometimes you just don't know.
If you want to write me at onemans@onemans.com, I can certainly ask pretty quickly tomorrow and get an answer.
Yeah. We'll get back to you on that. We have to ask Martin. Hopefully they'll know, right? Sometimes these things are. I was trying to track down the info sheet of the OM28 John Mayer, and they didn't have it. They just sent me like the article about it that they wrote. They don't always have all the... For a company that has that many documents about all the history and the museum and everything, sometimes it's kind of hard to get info on this stuff, I find.
Well, a lot of that history is only existed in paper, and they stopped using paper.
Right. All right, Old says, any buzz about the CEO 10? Blink 3 times for yes if you can't disclose any info. And we won't send Fred Green over to your house. He blinked once.
I know. I thought he was asking Aaron, because I'm not going to say anything.
Olds, yeah, I'm not really sure about it. No, I don't know. I really want to have Fred Green on here, but he's a very busy man. But one day I'm going to get him to come on here for a live stream. Maybe when they release the 28 series, I call it that. I know it's wrong to say that, but when they release the higher grade series of, or let's say Nazareth made series of the SC13E, maybe he'll come on.
I'm going to step back a second because I see Colin's comment in the chat. He was asking really to compare the 0012E versus the 0018 in terms of tone of the mahogany veneer. I mean, the co-veneer versus mahogany. There's a lot more to it than that. And I will just always say you get what you pay for when you buy a standard series instrument. So I can only ever recommend buying a Road Series instrument over a standard series instrument if economics is a major part of your decision. From my experience, when you buy those kind of guitars, they pay for themselves eventually, and the pinch of spending that kind of money. That being said, Colin, I don't know, with a name like Colin Butters, you sound suspiciously English to me, and if you're really talking about having to pay UK prices, then that may be a completely horse of a different color. So then I would say I understand your dilemma. And you would certainly, I think people will be perfectly happy with a 0012 or 0013. Certainly. They're still professional level, acoustic electric guitars and are on par with a lot of other makers' guitars.
Are you also interested in Gibson history, J45, Hummingbirds, etc.?
To a certain extent. I've never gotten into it as much. I particularly love the history of the LOO and of course, this is my age showing, the very famous, Nick Lucas. I couldn't think of his name. Nick Lucas, the multi-instrumentalist, spectacular ukulele player, but he's known for his Gibson signature models and how those changed over the years before they kind of morphed into what became the LOO, as well as some of the other early 13 fret Gibsons. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I guess ever since getting that J150, I've had more interest in Gibson. And I do really want a Les Paul, but they're all over like £8 or £9 or £10. I don't really want a guitar that heavy. And
Yeah, I
eventually,
had one. I had one for a while in my
uh,
youth, and
yeah. You can get them, like the custom shop will do one that's guaranteed under £8. I would get something like that. But then the customs, like everything else right now, are very pricey. So you have to save
well,
up for that.
I got to play one from the first year of production, which is what 52 maybe.
Mm.
Um, Totally different, super light. It belongs to Matt Whitley, Chris Whitley's brother, and who has at least back in those days had a power trio here. That was, he would just blow the roof off of places with that thing. But it was
Mm.
amazingly light. It was the lightest. No other Les Paul or even Les Paul Jr. I played came close to how light this thing was. So they clearly beefed him up as time went on.
I played one a couple of years ago in that kind of lull that they had, and I didn't like it at all. And the quality control was really bad. But I think they've done such, they've really turned themselves around, and I'd love to get one. If I got one, it would have to be under £8 or around £8. And I think the custom shop is the way to go for that. But like every custom right now, you've got to pay a lot of money for it. Or a 335. They're classic, aren't they? Fender, Gibson, Martin, for me, they're just all, I love the history. I love all that classic stuff myself. Okay. And yeah, once we've done all the talking about Martin that we possibly can, then I need another brand to move on to, right? So it'll give me more content to talk about. Spoon, how do you treat your thumbnail so you can use it like a pick on a steel string guitar?
Like a princess. These are artificial nails. My nails just got too thin as I got older, and I finally gave up of constantly taking care of them and doing all the buffing to melt the surface and make them harder, and then the day before a gig breaking a nail. And years ago I was at a guitar show, and a fellow that I always admired, Howie Emerson. If you've never heard Howard Emerson, check him out. His wife had just convinced him to try acrylic nails. And shortly after that, that's around the same time I did a workshop with Chet Atkins and Steve Warner and Kotkin was at, and people looked around at me like I was crazy when I asked nail care questions, and they probably talked more about that than anything else.
Yeah.
But this was before Chet Atkins. At that time, he would carry ping pong balls to repair, with super glue and ping pong ball to repair a broken nail. And shortly after that, he started wearing, I don't know if it was acrylics. I used silk wraps for a long time. I think they sound more like real nails, but they're too expensive. And these are actually just the glue powder. The woman I use does a great job, and they're probably a 175 thickness. So it took me a while to get used to them, to be able to do like flat pick like Steve Stills does. But I'll still use a flat pick for any serious flat picking. But these were just done yesterday. They cost me here with tip $30 to get these 4 done. And I'm so used to them now that I don't even think about it, except when I break one.
It's definitely, it's worth trying. I remember watching James Taylor talk about that, and I had a big gig a few years ago, and I practiced so much that my nail just completely disappeared. So I went and had that one done locally, and
Bruce Coburn, long ago, started doing super glue and sawdust. He would make his own nails with super glue and sawdust, and that's basically just what he did. Super glue is the exact same chemical as the nail glue that the ladies use in the nail salons. It's just the nail glue is just diluted a lot.
But you can still break it and rip it off, right? I had this one done, and if I used it like a pick, I would still, if the string catches.
If I'm going to grab a door and I'm not paying attention, I go short. You could still pull it, break it off, pull it off. Yeah, it still happens.
Yeah, it's worth
Particularly
trying.
the first one.
I would recommend people try the fake nail thing, acrylic nail thing, and see what you think. And then there's people like Tommy Emmanuel that just has such hard calluses. Like his fingers are just so hard now from playing all the time that he doesn't use that.
Lawrence, Steve Warner, those kind of guys. Typically, I think Warner will use a thumb pick, but they typically are playing with really gnarly looking fingertips that are just calloused like a guy's foot in New Guinea that never wore shoes his whole life. That's what they look like.
Yeah, someone said there was Lewis said yesterday. What do you recommend for learning the guitar? And I said just do 10 minutes every day to start with. Just keep that consistency, and also to get your fingers used to it, because it's just kills your hand when you start on the guitar, doesn't it? Like on the
Yeah, some teacher I know will say, particularly if somebody's got really soft fingers, if it hurts, stop. Even if you only played for
Yeah,
a minute and you do it but you play every day,
yeah,
but you stop when it starts to hurt, and then it gets better and better and
it will
better.
get better.
Yeah.
It's like going to the gym, but I don't know much about that. Um, da-da-da-da-da. Oh, the wrong thing came up. Hang on, someone just said something here that I thought was a good point. Thanks for answering the question, said Colin. Was pondering the 0012E or 0018, but difficult to find
That's
shops with stock
that's
at
what
the
I
moment.
saw. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that, and that's what made me respond.
Yeah, and I was actually looking at, not for any particular reason, but I was surfing on Sweetwater the other day for PRS guitars, and I tried to search by what's in stock at the moment. They haven't got a single PRS guitar in stock. And I text my sales engineer. He said, yeah, we're sold out, and everything that's coming in is spoken for. I was like,
Yeah.
what? People are still buying up guitars like that after all this time? It's
Yeah, and
crazy.
some of them may be that some of these makers have components that are coming from overseas, and it's just there's a lot of countries even worse off than we are when it comes to what's going on out there right now.
We have a new viewer, Mr. Fuzztone. Thanks for joining us. If you are new here, please subscribe and ring the bell. And they say small size guitars seem underrated. What say you?
Yeah, I think they're totally underrated. Go watch John Baez at Woodstock with a 0045 and a SM57. I mean, yeah, they're totally underrated. You just we're used to big woofy dreadnoughts, so anything smaller than an OM all of a sudden seems to, you know, disappear, but it's not really true. Particularly when you're out front, they sound better. Everything from an OM and smaller sounds better to a listener than it does a player. And I think it's kind of the opposite with dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts can be a little too boomy and completely overwhelm singing voices and stuff to the listener, even though we love them as players.
Da-da-da-da. I just
I
saw my
saw.
phone. Someone said I skipped them. If I skipped you, it's because you got to put a Q in front of the question. If you joined late, you wouldn't know that, so I apologize.
I did. I
Just
did
type it
see a
again.
Q about deep bodies, but I'll wait till you get to it. But
Yeah, that's the next question. You're always one step ahead, Spoon Phillips. Has Martin ever made a deep... Hang on. Has Martin ever made a deep, small body guitar like the Nick Lucas or something with 13 frets?
yes. Next question. No, they that I recall in the modern era, by modern era, 1950s up, the first deep body guitars were the women in music guitars, and they were designed by a committee of women at Martin Guitar, with input by a few professionals. I don't remember who now, but I think if I recall, it's sort of people in the Lilith Fair sort of crowd. And they were 00 size, but with a deeper body. And I know certainly men, they had more than one, and they made some limited editions after that that used the same configuration. But they were short scale. They might have made some with long scale, but the deeper body gave you a little bigger boominess to them in the bass. But they're still comfortable to sit with, and they were they were popular enough. They sold out, in their limited editions that they made. Then they came out with the one that I owned was the OM30 deep body Pat Donahoe, and it was the first modern Martin made in style 30, which has the brightly colored wood marquetry around the edge of the top and along the back, and it's got a truncated version of the old style 40, 42 fretboard markers. Nothing on the Peninsula extension. But that was very popular. He had an extra wide neck, a 1 11/16 inch neck, and V-neck. So I had a custom made like that with a normal 1 3/4 inch low profile neck, and Madagascar rosewood and Adirondack spruce top and style 42. Was a spectacular guitar. Um, and there probably is some others out there, but those are the big ones. The deep body double O's, and that's deep body OM. Totally available from the custom shop. They're happy to do that as a custom order.
Very, very cool. Ken says, Spoon, what's a New Yorker doing with the Cleveland Browns jersey?
Short answer, I'm from Ohio, and they were my dad's team. I have several teams. I still root for the Giants and the Jets too, but go Browns.
Is it possible that we've run out of questions for Spoon Phillips? Wow, it's unbelievable. Put some more in there. And while I'm waiting for some more questions, first of all, I put a link to Spoon in the chat, onemans.com. Do click on that later on and check out all these articles and support him there. And make sure you subscribe to my channel and share it with a friend. Let me just ask you about this topic then, because I didn't want to make a big deal about this, but I want to talk about it briefly. So my guest next Wednesday, Daisy, is the first female I've had on for an interview in a year and a half, right? And it got me thinking about like Martin, because at Martin, it was run partly by, her name's escaped me now. Who's the other CEO at Martin?
You're talking about the president?
Who's stepping down, yeah.
Of course, you get me right now, too.
Oh.
We've never actually met because she was every time I was at the factory, she was at the show. So we never actually got to meet.
I met her at NAMM, and this is terrible that I forgot that. I met her at NAMM, and I actually invited her on to talk on here as well. And let me get her name.
Yeah, I feel bad, too.
Yeah, I make a big talk about it. But I want to talk about,
because she originally was going to be gone. She was going to step down and be gone before
Jackie
Christmas,
Renner.
apparently.
Jackie Renner.
Jackie, yes.
Right.
But apparently that didn't happen, and she's sticking around. So that's good.
Well, she is, but she's leaving, right? In a month
She
or
is
two.
leaving, but I thought she was going to be leaving long before now. So
Oh, okay. So
maybe
she's
with the
leaving.
crisis and stuff, she agreed to stay around.
Right. So with her, I didn't really know about her until I had Chris on here, and he was talking about her. I didn't know the role she had there. And I also know that when I've been on the tours, people have asked, like, what's the ratio of male to female there? And I think Martin have a lot of.
They have lots and lots of female workers.
Yeah.
A lot of their workers, if you're coming up through the 90s and 2000s, used to be garment workers, where the Lehigh Valley was, and then all those jobs went overseas, and so they started getting other jobs. But and the stories they would tell. I mean, Chris Martin actually said to me, he even said this. He said, the stories they talk about their former bosses, he said sometimes, and he's a very peaceful man, he says sometimes they just want to go up and punch those guys right in the nose. Yeah. So, Martin it's a factory job, and it's a hard job, but the people there are very happy to work there. And, there was Amani Duncan who came in to try to, and she successfully went in and sort of tried to modernize some of the marketing stuff and really kickstart going toward the younger guitar players. They started coming out with the brand ambassadors and that kind of stuff before she moved on to, I think, MTV or someplace like that. But you have people, all the way up, custom shop people. I know there's, there's plenty of women that are working there, and I'm not going to mention somebody's name right now, just in case she's not interested in having me mention her name. But there is somebody I'll talk to you about privately that you might be interested in having on, who's worn a lot of hats there and is personally responsible for inventing the two-way adjustable truss rod, things like that.
That's cool.
I can talk to you about that after.
Yeah, it just made me think, like, it was not planned. I just thought, wow, it's such a kind of, there's such a strong male presence, because in a year and a half, just the way it worked out, this will be my first female guest. And then got me thinking about Jackie, because I had a really nice chat with her at NAMM. I still hope she will come on the show at some point, because I'd like to know exactly what she did. Because whenever I thought about Martin, I thought of Chris as the kind of front person. But it turns out, I believe that Jackie did a lot there behind the scenes, and I'd love to know exactly what her role was and what she did there. So hopefully that'll happen at some point. We'll see.
Yeah, I have some other ideas from you too. I'm not gonna. Well, we can mention
Yeah,
that.
we'll discuss that.
Like
Yeah,
non-Martin people, but other women who are involved in the guitar making world that
yeah,
you might
yeah,
want to
yeah.
look into.
Yeah,
It's a great idea.
I'm really happy. I'm really happy that Daisy's coming on next week. But also, I've wanted a builder on here that asks questions. Like, I've got so many questions for her. Like, why are you choosing the woods you're using? Why are you choosing the bracing you're using? What are your thoughts on electronics? What are your thoughts on torrification? Right? To ask someone that actually makes guitars these questions is super exciting for me. Can't wait. All right, I've got some more questions coming in. I don't know what this means, BMO. Is that a sports reference?
I've moved on to a very hard to find
Or is it whiskey?
sherry copita that I've tested a bunch of them and I like that one the best. But otherwise, Glencairn's more for me. Yes.
It's with Spoon Phillips. It's got to be either sports. Is my first guess. Alcohol. It's whiskey. Is my second.
Nosing glasses. Yeah.
And then maybe guitars.
Yeah, tumblers are for ice for me. I realize that's a very American thing to say, but yeah.
Oh dear. All right, Rick's got another question. Spoon, why don't Martin make a parlor guitar? None of their current lines offer one, and they're currently in vogue. I have a great Larrivee parlor and a custom O15M, but body shapes are not alike.
Yeah, quite so. That's a good question. I think the closest we ever got with the John Mayer's Stagecoach models, and they're actually 12-foot double O's. Those are not really small guitars. So yeah, they don't. That's a good, be honest, Martin is not interested in just selling a few guitars. I've done this, back before the Authentic series, when I would come to them and say, don't you know what this guy's doing here, and don't you know what this guy's doing there, and and how exactly these guys are with their pre-war Martin replicas. And one of the powers that be at Martin would look at me and say, "How many guitars do they make a year?" And that's not even on their radar, because they have to think in terms of, first of all, it costs them, and nobody would believe how much it costs for them to tool up to make a new model, like a new body size, something like that. Which I don't understand. When they give me these figures of how many thousands of dollars it would cost to tool up to make a new body size or something like that, I'd just say, wow, I didn't realize. I don't say, that's ridiculous. Why does it cost that much? But it does. So that's part of it. Didn't they? I mean, they make size 5s. You can still get a size 5. That's what the Claire model is. The Tours guitars. Yeah. You can still get a size 5, and those are that's Ed Sheeran size basically. But yeah.
Have you tried this guitar? I'm going to jump over to the desktop so we can all see it together. Oh, hang on. You were muted for a second there. You were muted there.
Wonderful.
Repeat that gasp of excitement for me.
Yeah. They're wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful. Engelmann top, maple back and sides. It's a different sound. It's pure. It's not dark and woofy. But you know what the really good Gibson maples sound like when you like a J200, that you get that almost glass bulb in the bass. But I'll tell you, give those things 2 years. Engelmann needs 2 years of playing. 2 years, 5 years, they become so beautiful, just angelic, glowing. Those magical harmonies that rise up out of guitars like Martin's, off the second layer overtones and stuff. Yeah, they're really. There's an Italian fella who lives in Florida now, but he used to come to Martin Fest from Italy, and about 2 a.m, him and Mike Thompson, he lives in Cambridge, up there in England. They were passing his White Clapton, as I call him, back and forth, and just marvelous.
It's crazy to me that this is
my
a
favorite maple guitar of all time.
This is 2006 mint condition, and it's selling for $6,000, where the John Mayer 28 John Mayer now is probably up to like $14,000. Just I guess I love it's based on the artist and that kind of thing, but I mean this is stunning. This thing, I think that's a good price for this. Very, very cool. Wow. I saw the blue one when I was at the factory, when they were making the blue one. I saw that.
Yeah, that's unique. That's actually a long scale OM, and that was done by accident. That just never, because Clapton refers to his vintage Martins as OMs in there, even though they're triple O's, because OM, of course, means orchestra model and stands for 14 fret Martin, really, in the broader definition. And it never occurred to anybody until it was too late. And all of Clapton's models are short scale triple O's, and this was a 14 fret long scale OM with a quarter-inch bracing, and Clapton loved it and immediately started playing it in concert. Just it never occurred to anybody or him, that to play a long scale guitar. But then he went back to his short scales, so it says something.
That looks amazing. I'm surprised that isn't. Oh, I thought it was $750 shipping. It's not. It's $6,150 at $130 shipping. That's like just over $6,000. Mint condition. Okay, if anyone's
And by the way, I mean the blue one is the long scale. This is a short scale.
If anyone's got their credit card unfrozen, be careful this evening. Oh, mine's in a block of ice in the freezer. And someone said that is the guitar. Who was it?
And your wife has the key to the freezer.
she's eating the credit card. Alex says John plays that in the Last Train Home video. That's right. John has that guitar in his Last Train Home video, not the SC guitar, which I guess he just got like this week. And yes, I did send him a message on Instagram. Would you? No, I didn't. I put in my video. Would you come on and discuss your guitars? What a great video that would be. That would just be me saying like, so why do you want that pickup, and why do you like Engelmann, and why do you do this, and why do you do that? Old says, can you still buy Martin guitar parts from the Martin store, like their tuners? They used to list them, but they disappeared.
You're talking about Guitar Players Connection. I don't know if that's COVID related. I honestly don't know because Martin is working from home. Everybody who can work from home works from home. The factory is still really locked down, and only necessary workers. So maybe Guitar Players Connection's been suspended. I've not, never even occurred to me to ask. So I'm not sure what this status is there.
Was that not on the 1833 shop?
Yeah, 1833. Oh, maybe they were selling them at the 1833 shop. That's the gift shop. Guitar Players Connection is what's at the old factory on North Street in Nazareth, where you can actually go in and buy the guitar kits and bridges and and stuff. That's for people who do guitar repair and do homemade, make their own guitars kind of stuff. If that's still in operation right now, if it hasn't been suspended, that's who you would want to reach out to, I would think, about this.
I'm on the 1833 shop right now. The only thing I can find like that is a truss rod. You can buy a truss rod from the 1833 shop. Is that like as a model, I think, right? No, it's a working truss rod to put in. That's weird. So you can't buy the tuners, which you could replace yourself, but you can buy a two-way truss rod.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. Since Dick retired, and Dick really wasn't doing much with the 1833 shop Guitar Players Connection at the end there. But that's something else. I can certainly ask people about it. If you want to remind me, if you want to write me at onemans@onemans.com with a Z. I own that hat. I'm very happy with it. That cap.
Oh, pick guards. Now you got me shopping now, look. Okay. Yep, if you get a guitar with a pick guard you don't like, you can get the old hairdryer out and put a new one on. But don't tell them I told you to do that.
Or if you got a guitar that doesn't have a pick guard.
Of course. That's what sane people would do. What I'm saying is what Aaron Short would do. I wouldn't do it myself. I'd ask Evan to do it, and he'd say, "Get lost." What else? Oh, electronics. I'm just having a look here to see if there's anything new. Is that new packaging for these? They're still selling that Gold Plus, I don't know why you'd buy that and not just buy the Matrix anymore. Perhaps they've got some kind of deal with that or something. Like the Gold Plus with the controls is basically the Matrix Infinity with the controls, right? So I don't know.
I don't know if it's somehow attenuated differently or not, but I believe it's the same.
But it's Martin branded, so perhaps they've got to deal with that.
Yeah, and also this is for somebody who's already got some kind of pickup system with controls and stuff, and they want to try a different, they want to replace their element with that one.
Hang on, did I get something wrong here? Mr. Fuzzstone says, I asked at the nearer, but great to hear a review of the Bianca. Oh,
I beg your pardon. Yeah, the nearest, the
Oh.
black one. So, yes, that one's older, and that came out.
Oh, you're right. I Googled it and it came up with the Bianca. My bad. Let me see if I can
Sorry.
find that one then.
I don't speak Italian.
Yeah, and
At
sorry
all,
for the
so-
sorry for the pronunciation. Okay, I got it. Let's take a look at this one instead. Because if we weren't online, I'd be doing this anyway. So let's just do it together.
Yeah, no, this one's terrible. This one really stinks. No, I'm kidding. Look at the specs on that. I want to make sure, just want to make sure that's 5. Do you have the specs? Is that 5/16" bracing? I'm almost certain it is.
Oh, he has both of them. This person's selling both guitars. Interesting. Get them both for a deal.
Yeah,
Specs.
This is a very different guitar. This is much darker, lusher sound to it. It's got,
There's no spec
it's either
there.
Italian or Swiss. It's probably Italian, but yeah, it's.
Ooh, look at that. It's a nice pair.
Yeah.
I'll take both. Thank you.
Yeah, it's some kind of European spruce and Indian rosewood. So much more lush. They really complement each other really beautifully because the tone is so different in each one of them, and
Okay.
yet still got the triple O.
I got a
short scale
question.
dynamics.
So look at the tuners, right? This one's been played, and this condition is excellent. The white one condition is mint. Now, does that mean that they preferred this one, and that's why they played it and didn't play the other one? Or does it mean they just kept the other one in good
It's
condition?
possible if this is somebody who's used to Sitka spruce and rosewood, and this is closer to a Sitka sound than Engelmann. And Engelmann is a rather shy wood at first, and you get very sort of plain Jane notes out of maple and Engelmann, and together it's not a very it's a pretty sound, but it's not a very complex sound at first. So they may just never really given the what's it called? The white Clapton its due.
How
So-
many models has Clapton had? I didn't know he had this many.
Let's
Is it the
see.
blue one, the white one, the black one?
The original limited edition was a Style 42. Then they came out with and they would call them two models because they were Brazilian and Indian rosewood. Then they came out with the one that we know, the 28, that's got the old Style 21 rosette. That's the 28 EC. They had a Brazilian version of that, so you're up to 4. We're just there. And then you have the black one, you have the white one, you have the blue one, you have the Crossroads one he did exclusive for Guitar Center, which he did in long scale OMs and short scale triple O's. He did one that was supposed to come out in the market, and the stock market crashed. It only came out in Japan, and it is a triple O 42 Madagascar rosewood that was only available in Japan. That had the specs of the triple O 42 Marquis, which was a fabulous guitar. And they have later at that same time they came out with a fancier Clapton 28 with split diamonds. Like it had blue with the diamonds or something. That was Madagascar rosewood, and that might be all of them, but there might be more that I'm not thinking of. So a lot, put it that way.
Yeah. And yep, so there you go, Mr. Fuzztone. Thank you for that. And Ricardo says, how different is a quad O from a triple O, assuming the same woods, bracing, etc.?
They're bigger. They sound bigger, but I think they sound a lot alike. You're getting a bigger bass out of the M-size guitar, but I always said they sound like supersized triple O's to me more than they sound like dreadnoughts. Other way to put it is the M sounds like the M, which is the same thing as a quadruple O. Sounds like a dreadnought where the bass and the mids are brought up evenly. So you're getting a forward firing mid-range, and that dreadnought bass is pulled back almost like an equalizer at home on your home stereo, pulling the bass back. Yeah, but it's unlike an OM, which to me has kind of a tone bubble and is very room filling. A triple O is a very forward firing because of the thicker bracing. Even in a long scale, it's more forward firing, and that's what you get out of the the quadruple O as well. It's punchy, but it's definitely bigger, and you definitely get a more satisfying bottom E string if you're finger picking, and that's why David Bromberg and Arlo Guthrie and all those people played M's all those years. But they literally went and took the old Martin arch tops with that body, the F size, and took the arch top off and had people put a flat top on it because Martin didn't make a guitar like that in the 60s and 70s until the M came out. But that was why they're really good for finger picking, but they give you a bigger, louder sound.
I put the this excellent picture. We've been tweaking a bit here on the screen, so just in case someone's new to this, the M shape there is at the bottom in the middle, and then the triple O is at the top right, so you can kind of visualize the difference.
Yeah, and you notice the M and the F are side by side. They're the same size. The F was an arch top, and with a slightly different cutaway.
Yeah, we had that story, didn't we, like 2 weeks ago about that.
Same silhouette as the J.
And the MC too.
Yeah, the J is an M with a dreadnought size depth to it, but the exact same silhouette.
Yeah, that's a very useful picture because it's good to visualize what these things look like, and we'll continue to update that between us.
So that guy was talking about, I'm sorry, his name, Ricardo, I think, was asking about the parlor. Somebody was asking about the parlor. If you show that graphic again, you can see what they would call parlor guitars are at the top. Anything below size O, from like a size 1 down, would be considered a parlor guitar.
Right. Yeah, very cool stuff. What are your thoughts on ukuleles?
I think they sound pretty. I've been tempted to pick one up now and again, especially when I hear friends of mine who play them and play them very well and can do, creative, pretty stuff with them. A friend of mine's got an old Martin baritone uke from the early 60s. That's the only time they made a baritone uke. And that's tuned like a guitar. So it's easier for guitar players to play. And it's a little, it's down. It doesn't have that high-pitched sound to it. So guitar players often like baritone ukes. But yeah, there's some really on YouTube and stuff, some amazing uke players.
All right, I'm just going to end the poll that I started, and then I'm going to give you a couple more questions to finish up with. So the next poll was, would you have your name on the fretboard of the guitar? So I'm going to end that right now. I say yes, but only on my stage guitar that I'm using to promote myself at gigs. Someone said to me it affects the resale.
Was that one of the choices?
Well, no, that's my opinion, but someone said that will seriously affect the resale value. Of course, you would never do that if you thought you might sell the guitar, because there's only another 10 Aaron Shorts in the world, and I hear none of them play the guitar, so it could be a real problem to sell it on. All right, I'll have that result in a second. But you would do it, right, Spoon? You thinking like me?
I had never really thought of it, but it's the moment you mentioned that, you're like, you're right. I could definitely see doing that. If I was, I'm not. It's not like I'm out promoting myself and performing all the time. So, I keep saying I should do more of that. But once the world gets back to normal, so maybe, who knows? I do know there was a spectacular D28, 1959 D28 at Lovey's shop over in New Jersey. What's the name of that guitar store over there? But anyway, for years, he had this wonderful Brazilian Rosewood D28 with custom heart diamond spade club markers and a woman's name on it. And so nobody was buying it because it had this woman's name on it, but it was a great guitar.
Yeah. Well, we've got no 77% and yes. So the rest. So it's a niche thing. Let's just say that it's a niche thing. So, how do you rate Madagascar for back and sides? Is Martin still making guitars with that wood?
It's being closeted pretty much now. They're only really making it on the Authentics. And on the Authentics, and they know they have a finite supply of it. So they're experimenting with what they're going to do next about that, what's going to replace it. I think it's a gorgeous looking wood. I always call it the mahogany lover's rosewood because it's got a treble that's very mahogany-like. It's definitely more complex. You still get rosewood complexity, but the darkest stuff kind of overlaps with the less darker Brazilian rosewood. They kind of overlap, and it's very chimey. It's got a uniquely musical chime to it. That's quite lovely. But it doesn't have that inky darkness in the bottom end that you get from Cocobolo, Amazon rosewood, Brazilian rosewood, Indian rosewood, Makassar ebony. It's kind of, and some people like that fact that it doesn't have, it's not too inky and woofy and muddy. So, but yeah, it's a beautiful, really, really complex. I love it with the particular Adirondack spruce.
Bimo says the thumbs up button must be broken. Let's see how many thumbs up we got. 27. That's not bad. That's not bad, Bimo. But yeah, give us some more. I think I've got one more question for you, then we'll start to wrap things up. VTS Sitka top or plain Addy top? I know which one I would choose. How about you?
For me, Adirondack. I'm an Adirondack man. I think I like VTS Sitka. Of all the VTS wood that I've heard, I like what it does with Sitka the most. And I love it kind of really blasts out the cellar doors and really kind of opens up that cavern underneath it. Just to go back from Madagascar for a second, because people have heard the problems with Madagascar. Madagascar rosewood, at the time Martin bought their Madagascar rosewood, they were working with the Malagasy government, and Chris is really big on trying to help local governments better manage their natural resources. There was a coup that the international community considered an illegal government, and the moment that happened, Chris Martin just said, "We're never buying Madagascar rosewood again as long as this continues," and it has continued. So he never bought it on the open market or anything like that after that.
Well, I think we've had a great session. I think I need to thank you, Spoon, for stepping in for Maury again. Maury's on
Had a great time.
He's on yet another vacation, people. Come on, Maury. No, he works hard. He deserves it. And he'll be back next week. So tune in for that. Always great to have Spoon here. You're welcome here anytime, Spoon. And I appreciate you being here.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks to you and everybody for spending your Labor Day with us.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful day here. So I'm surprised we didn't get many New Yorkers. I'm not surprised, rather. But,
yeah. It's been a quiet weekend for all.
Enjoy it right now.
It's been a quiet weekend for all streamers. I've noticed because everyone's enjoying that last weekend while we have the sun shining over here. And I'm going to put your link there if you want to see more about Spoon or read more of his work and listen to his work and all the rest of it and watch him too. Go to onemans.com.
And don't be shy with your questions. I get questions from all over the world every week. Yep. So just drop me an email.
I've already put your cell phone number in there, and they'll be calling you at 4 a.m. with their unrelated questions. And there's also a way to support him there as well. He's got some links there. So go and buy his album, support him there. If you like what I'm doing, I'm going to put my Buy Me a Coffee link in the chat. You can buy me a coffee if you had a good time today. And please do share this with your friends. As I always say the same thing. I sound like a broken record. If you like what I do, what Maury does, what Spoon does, the best thing you can do is to tell your friends about it so we can get more viewers over here. It'd be great. Robert says, thanks for a fascinating AMA. And Bimo has turned Irish. It's Slante. Maha. Sorry for our Irish viewers for not saying it right. Colin says, thanks for the answers. Thanks for the answers from Ricardo. Rick says, thanks, guys. Was great as usual. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Jim says, thanks. Everyone's saying thank you. Thanks, Rosanna. Fantastic. So I think Maury's back tomorrow. Check him out on his channel. I have my Thursday similar to this, but just about any music gear. That's 4 p.m. EST. Sunday is always live concert with playing the songs on the instruments at 4 p.m. EST. And don't forget, next Wednesday, my extra session with Daisy Tempest at 4 p.m. EST. I'm trying to keep to the 4 p.m. so we all remember what it is. Best way to be notified is to ring that bell and select all notifications. It will tell you when I'm doing stuff. Mr. Fuzzner says, always good to watch an interview with Spoon Phillips. I agree. And Jim says, Jim always says thanks. He always calls me AMS. I always think that's American Musical Supply. That's how I think of it gear. But thank you. That's Aaron. Oh, no, it should be ASM, right? Aaron Short Music. So maybe he is talking about American Musical Supply.
I thought maybe he knew what your middle name was.
What did you buy? It's AJS. What did you buy, Jim? Are you buying more guitars over there? You got AMS on the brain? All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks to Lee and Rosanna for moderating. Really appreciate it. Help me out over here. And enjoy the rest of the day. I shall see you on Thursday, if not before, in a video of some kind. Thanks, Spoon. Really appreciate it as always. Bye-bye. Talk to you soon.